Welcome to Inner Light. My name is Angela, and in this video here, we're going to explore our way from knowing God with our mind, with our intellect, into experiencing God with our heart. This video here is an excerpt of the Hour from Unity on the Bay, and I'm going to put a link in the comments below to their website. The title of the talk is On the Wings of Love. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. And so there is a time in the life of the spiritual aspirant in which he or she will be called to make a transition from knowing God with the head, with the intellect, and experiencing God with the heart. There is a big difference in knowing God with our mind than to experiencing God with our heart. To give an illustration, it's one thing to talk about water, to think about water, to contemplate on the elements of water, and it's something else when you actually drink the water and quench the thirst of your physical body. So the question is, how can we experience God with our heart instead of with our head? God being in love, the way that we experience God through our heart is by the experience of love. That's why when you look at the lives of those great teachers and spiritual masters and mystics of our time, you're going to notice that they have one thing in common. It's that they all have developed this love relationship with their source. And as they become the recipients of their love is not only wise and supportive, but it's also protective. There is a spiritual teacher from Japan, his name is Meishu-sama, and he said that he already passed away, but when he was alive, there was a point in his life that he fell in love with God. And he said that the love that he received back was so great, was so magnificent, that he had never experienced anything like that before. By that time, he was already married, he had 5 children, he loved his wife, he loved his children, but the love that he was experiencing directly from the source was something much greater than that. And once the person becomes the recipient of it, he can also serve as a channel through which the love of God, the light of God, the wisdom of God can be shared with others. As we look into the history of the human family, we're going to notice that every time that God has become tangible to the human experience, it has always been through an individual, such as Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Moses, Krishna. There is always an individual that have become receptive of this love and light and allow themselves to become a channel, to become a vessel of it. So when I was first introduced to the idea on the spiritual path that all you need is love, we actually hear that in songs, my first thought was, that sounds good, but doesn't sound realistic, because in addition to love, I need a lot of other things. I need to have a job, I need to have money in the bank, I need to have a house, a car, companionship, friends, on and on, the list goes on. But what I have learned on the spiritual path, that this love that they're talking about, that all we need is it, they're talking about the divine love, the love that our Creator has for ourselves. And that love is not only powerful but uplifting, but it allows the person who's the recipient to to have its vibrations raised and begin to attract unto himself all the things that he have need of. In other words, the house, the car, the job, the money in the bank, companionship, all of those things are considered the added things. So when we have that love, those things are attracted unto us. And it's interesting because our soul knows what it's like to be loved, to be cared, to be nurtured by this unconditional love. And it longs to have that experience. But because our egoic mind do not understand the longing of our soul, it gives us a sense of that we need to look for that love outside of ourselves. And so it places us in a very weak position because it makes us believe that in order to be fulfilled, we need to receive love and appreciation from outside of ourselves. Whereas the whole time, that satisfying love, the love that will bring with it the fulfillment of all things, it's already fully present within ourselves. So the greatest prayer that we can utter, that we can ask, is actually just to be open, to turn within, open up our heart, and turn to God and say, I'm willing, open, and receptive to your love. Reveal your love to me. Reveal yourself to me. Knowing that when we have that experience, even if it's in a measure, it will cause a major change in our lives. In the book, The Way of Mastery, it states that if you want to know the love of God, you must be that love. And how can we be the love of God? And I'm going to give you an example here from one of my favorite teachers, Joe Goldsmith. And he said that in his life, there was a time in which he was already evolved spiritually, but he had an incident with someone that caused him to feel hurt and resented towards that person. And he realized that he needed to forgive, but he said that humanly, he couldn't do it. So he turned to God and he said, God, I cannot forgive or even love that person, but I am willing to allow myself to be the vehicle through which you can love that person. So inwardly, he stood aside and he allowed God to show him how God viewed that situation and how God saw that individual. And God being love, it was with a compassionate eye. So Joe was able to see that person through the eyes of God with compassion, and that in and of itself helped him heal from this sense of hurt and resentment. So the question here is, are we willing to be open to allow this presence to begin to love through us? Our birthright is to experience this love connection to our source. And I would like to encourage you to open up your heart and allow yourself to be uplifted by the wings of love, and it will allow you to fulfill your destiny in life. I really appreciate you watching this video. There are several other very nice videos on the channel, and I highly recommend you to check them out. If you know someone that can benefit from this, please feel free to share it with them. If you like it, just click the like button below and subscribe to the channel. Having said that, a big hug to you, and from my heart to your heart, I see you in love and light. Thank you. Namaste.